John.
Scientists still believe if you can capture the information that's firing between neurons in the human brain, they think that's consciousness. And if you can put that on a computer chip, you can preserve that consciousness, and then you are immortal. And when your body dies, that chip can download into another human body or into a robotic body or into some form of life. What they're missing, this is why our humanness is so important, is that there's a part of us that is not in our bodies. And science, and I'll tell you in a minute how we know this, but science knows this. There's a part of us that's not in the body that is timeless, it is ancient, it is all-knowing. It's where our imagination begins, our creativity, our innovation. It's where our love begins. It's where our forgiveness begins. It's where our healing begins. And that part of us is called our divinity. And where this gets really interesting, if you talk to someone about divinity, and I'm just going to lay this out, and then we can tie into it for the rest of the conversation. If you talk to someone about divinity, they will think it has something to do with religion, because religions were wrapped around this powerful concept. But when you go look at the definition, I just did a whole series, a video series on this.
Would you allow me to say it? I've done my homework.
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
Is defined as the ability to transcend perceived human limitations.
Absolutely. So let's break that down. Transcend means it's more than just to survive. It means to become more than. And I think what's really important in that definition, and that's a dictionary definition, what's important is perceived limitations that we placed on ourselves. Will, they may not even be real. Mm-hmm. They are the limitations that we have accepted for ourselves, or that our family or our culture or our society or our religion or our science has programmed us to accept, but they may not even be real. So divinity, a lot of people, when I talk to them, they think this is a peripheral conversation. It's actually front and center, because divinity is what allows us to express the fullness of what it means to be human. And when we embrace our divinity, we fear the change in the world much less. Divinity is what heals our fear. And this is the reason there is a concerted effort to replace our humanness with synthetics, because it's only in this world, it's only through our humanness that we can access our divinity. We access that information. Divinity is a field of information that we access through the antenna of our DNA, the antenna of our cell membranes, the antenna of our neurons. And there's a branch of science now that is looking at the human body much more than wet, sticky, gooey stuff inside of cells. They're looking at us from an IT perspective, information technology. And they're saying, my God, DNA, for example, functions as a fractal antenna that both transmits and receives information. The question is, what are we sending? And when we receive it, where's it coming from? Well, it's coming from this field of information that we have always known in our hearts exists. But science is hard pressed to really prove that it's there. There are experiments they're doing now that are demonstrating that that field is there and that there is something missing in the current model. So this is a big conversation, a big picture. Here we are barreling down the path of this road of change at the close of a great cycle of time. There's an unsustainable world that is buckling and collapsing while a new world is emerging. And there are two forces. There are forces of good and evil, very real good and evil, not just the metaphors, but very real good and evil. That there are some people that don't want us to embrace our humanness, that don't want us to embrace our divinity, because when we do, that's where we are in our power. We're no longer locked into the fear that keeps us vulnerable to the ideas of other people.